Hi guys, welcome to my channel. It's your favorite girl Glory Wandery, and in this video I'll be showing you how to make the funnel corset. Okay, I know you'll be wondering how do I make it. I don't know how to do it, but in this video I'm going to be showing you step by step on how to make it perfectly. I know it's been a while, but come on guys, support your girl, okay, because I am back. So let's start. Hello guys, so we'll be drafting our funnel corsets, and the first thing you're meant to take down would be your across bust measurement. Make sure you do all your calculations before drafting. So for the bust circumference is 34 and the across bust is 18. We'll be using the subtraction method for this. So we'll go ahead and subtract the bust minus the across bust, which is 34 minus 18, which is 16. We'll be dividing the measurements we derived by 2. Okay, so this would be the front and also the back. So for the across bust for the front is 18. Okay, so 18 divided by 2 is 9, and 16 divided by 2 is 8. Now we've derived the bust measurement, we go ahead to the hip measurement. For the hip, we have 38.5 inches. Guys, ensure that you're using your measurement for this, okay? So for the across back is 21. And I'll also be using the subtraction method for this because that is how we're going to, draft this pattern, okay? Now, 38.5 minus 21 is 17.5. And we're going to be dividing this the same way. So for the front, 17.5 divided by 2 is 8.75. And for the back, 21 divided by 2 is 10.5. This calculation is very important because we're going to be using it to draft. Now let's start. To derive the front and the back basic block, divide the fullest part of the body into 2. So my calculation shows that mine is 10.5 plus 0.5 inches, which is 11 inches. So this is 11 inches on both sides. We're going down by 8.1 inch to derive the armhole line. So I'll just extend the line to the back as well. To derive the armhole line, you're going to divide your bust by 6 plus 2.5 inches, which is what I did. So we're going to go ahead to rule this out. We'll go ahead to take down the remaining measurements from the shoulder to the bust points. So we have 9.5 inches for the bust points. So for the shoulder to the under bust is 13, and to the waistline 16.5. So we'll go ahead to extend this line and continue. Also go ahead to label the lines. From the waistline, we'll go down by 9 inches to get the hip, okay? So go ahead to extend the line like so. Let's go ahead to take down the back measurement. So for the half length is 15 inches. Go ahead to measure from the waistline to the hip line, which is 9 inches like so. By now, you can tell that we're drafting a basic block. So for the neck depth, we're going in by 3 inches, and for the neck width, we're going out by 3 inches. Okay, so you can actually connect the point like so using the curved rule. We're going ahead to take down the shoulder measurement, which is 7 inches. That's your shoulder divided by 2. So this is 7 inches. Go ahead to mark out the same points at the armhole line. And once you're done, you go down by 1.5 inch for the shoulder slope and connect the points. So the back is a little different. Instead of going down by 1.5, for the back you go down by 1 inch for the shoulder slope. For the neck width, I'll be going out by 3 inches, and for the neck depth, I'll be going down by 1 inch. Go ahead to mark out your shoulder measurement and connect the points. From the armhole line, we'll be going up by 3 inches. So we're going to mark out this point to create that armhole depth, okay? Then from that point, you go in by 0.5 inch and use your ruler to connect that point. For the back, you'll be dividing it equally into two, okay? Then from that point, you also go in by 0.5 inch and connect the point. To mark up the bust span, we're going in by 3.5 inches. So ensure you're taking the accurate measurement of your bust span. And at the waistline, we'll go in also by 3.5 inches down to the hip line. And once you're done, you connect that point together. We'll go ahead and do the same thing for the back as well. Now, this is where we'll be needing this measurement. So, as you can see, we took down the across front and the back of our basic block, okay? So, we're just going to be imputing all that to the measurement right away. So, guys, if you've gotten to the stage, please take note of your measurement. So, we're imputing all those measurements that, we took earlier. So the across bust for the front is 9 and for the back is 8. So we're going to be taking down our actual waist circumference. So for this pattern, the actual waist circumference is 26. So once divided by 4, it is 6.5. All right, so I'm just going to be imputing that. We've not done the subtraction method for the waistline. Take note of that. So once I've already imputed the waist measurements, we'll go ahead to take down the hip measurement. So for the hip, the front is 8.75 and for the back is 10.5. Now we'll be going ahead to connect the points like so. From the armhole down to the hip line, we're going to draw a line, okay? Lines with strokes. So we'll be connecting that line straight, okay? So once that is done, we're going to be measuring those points. So we're going to create this line from the front and also for the back. So make sure you take note of this. From the waistline down to that stroke, mark out your measurement. So I'm taking down the measurement from there. As you can see, I'm having 2 1/4. So we'll extend that measurement to the other side. You can see the way I'm cross-checking and taking down the measurement. That is what you should do. So after taking down the measurement from that 2 1/4, I will continue the measurement from the stroke to the waistline from the back. So I had 4.9 inches, okay? So now that 4.9 inches will be dividing it by 6, which gave me 0.8 inches. Now that 0.8 inches will be what we'll be using for the dart intake, okay? So 0.8 inches on both sides, all right? So we'll be marking that for the front and the back dart legs. So once that is done, we go ahead to connect the point, okay? So make sure you're using your ruler to connect that point. Now, let's not forget our corset length, okay? So from the waistline, we'll be going down by 5 inches for the corset length, okay? You can go higher by 1 inch, probably 4 inches, but for this pattern, we'll be going down by 5 inches like so. So now after that is done, you go ahead to connect the lines, all right? Make sure you label it. Now, we took out 1.5 inches for the dart leg, okay? So we're going to be replacing it back. We need to replace that, okay? Because in as much as you've taken the dart, you have to replace it. So I'm taking the measurement like so, and I'll be replacing it from that waistline point. So from that point, you can see the way I'm taking it from there and replacing it. So I would still go ahead, to connect that line again. So that's what we'll be doing from the armhole point. We'll connect it to get our actual line, okay? So let's erase those strokes so that you won't get confused, okay? because this is now our actual line. So make sure that you're erasing that part so that your pattern will look neat and you understand where you are at the moment. Now, if you notice, you'll notice that the front half length is longer than the back. So from that point, which is 1.5 inch that I measured right there, I'll be taking it to the bust line and going down by 1.5 inches. And I'll turn this to a dot, okay? So by the time you connect the front and the back, they will both align. So this is connected to the bust span point, okay? So we'll be tightening the under bust, okay? So we're going to be tightening the under bust by going in by 0.75, okay? So I'll be going in by 0.75 at this point. And for the side, I'll be going in by, you can also go in by 0.75 or 1 inch, but I'll be going in by 1 inch from this point, okay? Then go ahead to use the curve to connect the points like so. Now, from that shoulder slope, okay, we'll be dividing it into two to get the midpoint. And once that is done, you go ahead to connect that to the bust point. So we're going to be tightening the shoulder because, for people that want to, add yoke to it, so you need to tighten the shoulder. Now you will need a compass for this because you're going to be drawing out the bust span, okay? That is the bust span, your nipple to nipple measurement. So here I'm using 3.5 inches and I'm going to draw it round, okay? I actually zoomed this so that you can see it clearly because it's going to be really faint. So try and, draw out your bust span, okay? Because that point at the top is where your over bust corset is going to stop. So you need to know where it's going to stop. Now take a look at where the curve stopped. From the armhole line to the top, you'll realize that it stopped at 2 inches. So from that 2 inches point, we're going to be using a ruler to trace that line, okay? You can actually rule it out. So this is where your over bust is meant to stop, okay? You can start from there or even go higher. It's left to you to decide, all right? So we're going to be cutting through from that line there. So make sure you're cutting through from that line. So we'll be cutting it down to the waistline because we want to close the side that, okay? Because we're going to be tightening the shoulder. So we're going to be doing that like so. So go ahead to, cut through from this side. And once you're done, you go ahead to close the dot by the side. Now, the only time you know that this is accurate is when the circle that we drew aligns together once the dot is closed, okay? So that opening that you can see, take the measurement of it. Here we have 2 3/4, so we're going to be dividing it by 4. Now, before that, go ahead to go down by 1.5 inch from the shoulder point and mark that point out, all right? So once you mark that point, you're going to connect the lines together, okay? Because we're going to be adding what we derived here, which is 0.6, okay? So we're going to be adding it back here, okay? And once we're done, we go ahead to connect that point. And also on this side, we're going to be marking 0.6 again and connect it directly to that point. So take note of that. We'll go ahead and open the side dot again so that we can close the shoulder, all right? So the next thing we'll be doing is to slash that dot point so that we can close the shoulder part. So make sure you slash through, but do not cut it completely, and go ahead to close the shoulder like so. You can see how I did it, so go ahead and do the same. So we'll be using the tape to close the shoulder part, all right? So make sure you're doing it like so. So once you close the shoulder part like this, you have to connect the line again. Can you see how I connected the line? So that is what we will be doing here. So now that the lines are connected and it's aligned with the shoulder slope, the next thing to do is to take the curve and connect that point down to the armhole line. All right. Now, remember this part where we ruled out where the overburst is meant to stop? We're going to be tightening that place as well. So I'll be using 0.25 on both sides and connecting it down to the burst point. So that part is also tightened. All right. So we'll go ahead to connect the points like so. Then go ahead to slash open again from that shoulder point. So make sure you've taped this part all through so that as you're cutting through, it's not going to affect the initial tightening of the shoulder. So we're going to be slashing this through to the shoulder point, and of course, we'll go ahead to close the side that again. So now let's create a bust waistline. We'll be going from the center front in by 1/4 inch, okay, to create that bass effect. So we're just going to be connecting, the point from that dart leg to that point. So I'll just be connecting the point like so. And now that it's done, you go ahead to take down the measurement of, that you have on your dart, and we're having 2.5 there, so we go ahead to mark out that point like so, and also connect the lines like so. Ensure that you're connecting it the way you connected the first one, so it has to have like a slanty effect, okay, not a straight line but a slanty effect. So we'll go ahead and connect the points like so. Now from that armhole, we'll be going in by 1.5 inch, okay? And at the waistline, we'll be dividing it into two equal parts and marking out the point. And at that hip point, from that dart leg, we'll be going out by 2 inches, all right? Because we're going to connect a point, like so. It's not going to be like a straight line, but it should be a little bit slanty so that it will have that, backs effect. But if you want to make it straight, that's left for you to decide, okay? So we're doing it this way, like so. So now that we've gone ahead to do all that, we have to take the measurement of what we have. So we'll be measuring from the center point to that dart leg, okay? So you can see the way I marked out the point, and I'm going to take it after the dart. So now we're having 5.5. Okay, so if you notice, we haven't, snatched our waist yet. So I'm just going to be showing you the calculation of how we're going to derive our new waistline. Okay, so now we're having the waist, the actual waist, which is 26 minus 3, that's 23 inches. Okay, because we're going to be subtracting 3 inches from the actual waistline. Then we go ahead to divide 26 by 4 and 23 by 4. And now we have 6.5 and 5.75. So we'll go ahead to subtract 6.5 minus 5.75, which is 0.75. Now, if you take note, you realize our new waistline is 5.75. It means there's a shortage of 0.25 on the waistline, and we need to complete it, okay? So what we're going to be doing is that 0.75 we got after subtracting 6.5 minus 5.75 is what we're going to be using here. So 0.75 minus 0.25, that's the shortage, would give us 0.5. So that 0.5 is what we'll be placing here. Now divide that into 2, okay? So that is what I am placing like so. So once you're done, you go ahead to, rule out that point, okay? So that is ½ inch dart. So remember that we took out ½ inch for that here. So we're going to be adding ½ inch also at the back, okay? So make sure you remember that you'll be adding 0.5 inch at the back as well. At this corset length, I want the dart to, I want to take out 0.25 right there so that it will give us like a very good curve at that point, okay? So we don't want it to be like straight. So we'll be connecting it like so. Now the next thing is to take the measurement of the dart. So the dart intake we have here is 2.5, and we'll be dividing it by 2. that is 1.25. All right, so we'll be adding it to that hip line right there. So before that, we'll go ahead to do our calculation again for the waistline. So you can see the way I'm placing my tape. I'm still taking down the measurements. And remember, our new waistline is 5.75. So right there, we're having 3 1/4 already. So you can see the way I'm taking my tape, and now I'm marking out 5.75. You can see where that 5.75 stopped. So I'll be connecting this new waistline again. And remember, it's because we just placed a dot right there. So go ahead to the dot leg and measure out the 0.25 that we added there. So now we'll be adding 1.25 plus 0.25, which is 1.5 inch. Okay. So now we can go ahead to connect the points. If you want your hemline, your hip line to remain the same without any exaggerated effects, that is okay. But for this pattern, we'll be adding at least 1 inch or 1.5 inch by this side. So you can see we'll be going up by 1 inch at that hip line there. Then we're going to be coming out by 1 inch or probably 1.5. You can even make it as much as 2 inches or 3 inches. But for this pattern, we'll be going out by 1 inch, okay, just to have that exaggerated hemline. All right, so you can see the way I'm marking this out. So I just marked out 1 inch, and then we'll go ahead to connect that point to the waistline. Then we'll go ahead to create a style line. You can choose however ways you want to style this hem part, so that's left for you to decide. So I'll be doing mine like this. So at the center front at the bust point, we'll be tightening that part by 0.25 on both sides, and we'll go ahead to roll this out and close it. Okay, this is to have a more structured look, and go ahead to create a straight line at that point. Okay, so because it's going to be straight, in as much as we close that part, you have to make sure that part is straight. So now we're going to go ahead to create our, style line for the neckline area. So I'll be placing the curve like this and connect it to that center front, okay? And go ahead to create your style line at this point as well. For the funnel part, we'll be going down by 1 inch from the bust point like so. Now we're going to roll this to that point, and once that is done, we'll go ahead to use the curve, to connect that point to have that funnel effect. So we're going to be measuring from the armhole point to 2 inches. That is where that bust span stopped. Okay, so we'll go ahead to rule a line. So I created another curve again because I wasn't satisfied with the first one. So I had to erase that. So can you see where my pencil is stopping? I'll be using that to create the style line for the funnel. So I'll be connecting it like so. So let's go ahead and do that. So now that's done, we'll go ahead to connect the armhole to that point again. Now for people that will be placing yoke, you can go up by 0.5 inch, okay, and connect that point again. I'm not sure if I'll be placing yoke or not, but I just want to, put it right there. So in case I change my mind, we can do that. All right. So I went up by 0.5 inch and connected again to that point. So we have an inner for the funnel corset. So from that on the bust, I'll be going down by 1 inch. So we have one inner for the funnel and one inner for the over bust. So as you all know, you can't, totally sew directly, like completely to the hemline, because it's going to be too bulky. So that is why I went down by 1 inch for that on the bust in order for you to join that while you sewing. So go ahead to mark out that point so you'll know that you'll be tracing this part out. Now let's go to the back. So for the back, we'll be going in from that center back by 1.5 inch. And this is the opening. At the hem, we'll be going in by 0.5 inch and connect the points together like so. So for the dart at the back, we'll be erasing it, which we have 1.5 inch for the dart intake plus the 0.5 inch that we placed there, making it 2 inches. So let's go ahead to erase this dart, first, because we'll be creating another dot line. And remember, we've not connected the armhole curve, so let's go ahead to do that. We'll go in by 1.5 inch at this point, and this is for the lacing bar. So at that hemline too, we'll be going in by 1.5, then connect the line. And this is how it should look like once you place your eyelets. Okay, so this is how it will be. So at this point, we'll be dividing by 3. So here we have 4.9 inches, and we'll go ahead to divide it by 3. And whatever you get, you're going to impute that right there. On the waistline, we'll be doing the same thing. And for the waist, we have 5.6 divided by 3. And whatever you derive, we'll be placing that right there as well. So you can go ahead to connect that line to the corset length, because we'll not be dividing that part into 3. So make sure you're slanting it however ways you want it to be. Now, so we're going to be dividing this into 5 parts. So this is 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So now we'll be dividing 2 by 5. And whatever we get is what we're going to be using for our dart legs. So 2 divided by 5 would be 0.4. So we're just going to be placing 0.4 on each side to create our dart legs. Now we go ahead to measure our new waistline. Okay, so from that point where my tape starts, so I'm just going to be placing it there to make sure we have our full waistline, which is 5.7. Okay, so our waistline is complete, so we have no issues here. Now we just go ahead to the hemline and add 1/4 into the dart leg. It shouldn't even be close to 1/4, but at least slightly, so that we can have a curved effect at that point. Okay, same way we did at the front. Now we can go ahead to add the remaining measurement. So at the front, we went out from the hip line by 1.5 inch, which is what we'll be doing at the back as well. So I'll just be adding that right there at that hip line. So I'll go ahead to mark out the measurements at the front so that we don't make any mistakes. So 1 inch plus 1.5, that is 2.5 inches. So which is what we're doing like so. So I've gone up by 1 inch, and we'll just go ahead to connect those points from the waistline to that corset length like so. So at the center back, we'll be going down by 0.75 inch just to get like a slanty curve at that point. Okay, so from the armhole line, you're going to connect it to that point. Now, once we're tracing the pattern, remember this is the dart. We are not going to be tracing out the dart. So I'm just going to be using this marker to indicate that we're not going to be tracing that point out. So you can see that we're literally done with the pattern. So the next part now is just to, we're going to create like a style line at the back, okay, at the yoke part of the back, in case you want to add yoke to it. But before that, you can see that this is how we're going to be tracing out our funnel corset, okay? So we're going to be tracing out the overbust part first, the inner of the overbust. We're going to trace out the inner of the funnel and also the funnel. Then we'll go ahead to trace out the yoke, the front and the back. So there are a lot of things we need to trace out here. So make sure that, you trace it accordingly. Then we go ahead to the back and create a style line for the back. All right. Now, can you see where that lacing bar is? That part is where I want to create my style line to that top part. Okay, so I went down by 1 inch, which is okay. You can go lower if you want to, but this is how I want the curve to be at the back. So make sure you extend that center back by adding allowance to it at least 1 inch at that top point, not at the corset part. So now we're just going to be going up by 0.5 as well, because we did that for the front, so you can see that. So we'll just connect that point to the armhole. Okay, so this is all you need to know about the funnel corset. So now let's go ahead to trace this out. So I've gone ahead to trace it out. As you can see, this is the overbust, the funnel, the yoke, the back. I haven't traced out the inner for the overbust and the funnel. Now go ahead to create the yoke for the front and all of that. So you can see the way I opened it and closed it at the shoulder part. So this is all you need to do, okay? All this tracing and all of that. So this is how I went ahead to trace out the yoke. For most of you that will be asking me, how can I do it? So yeah, this is it. I went ahead to trace it like this, okay? So make sure you're tracing it the same way in case you want to add sleeve to it. So that's basically that. And when I'm done, I'll go ahead to draw the lines that I actually traced out, and here it is. And in the next video, I'll show you how to join the pieces together. See you in my next one. Bye!